All right, let's talk about the IVF calendars and what that looks like. So, again, when we talk about calendars, a lot of the times everything starts with your menstrual cycle or your period. And again, the first day of your cycle we label as cycle day 1. And so, what typically happens is a patient will get their period, and we'll get into how they call with that, but they get their period cycle day 1, and then around cycle day, let's put this in a different color, around cycle day 3, somewhere through cycle day 10, 11, 12, and this can even vary a little bit shorter or longer. That's when they're taking the IVF medications. And during that time, the clinic usually has the patient come in for ultrasounds and blood work, so BW blood work, during this window, sometimes every other day, sometimes it gets closer to daily. And then at the end of that 10-day window, the patient will then, when the follicles are ready and they're ready to do the egg retrieval, this is when they give what's called the trigger shot. This is typically the HCG injection. Now, some people are also using the Lupron trigger shot or Luprolide trigger shot. So we could put or Lupron trigger. Sometimes it's even both of those medications. And then 36 hours later, they do the egg retrieval. Okay, so cycle day 1, patient calls with their menstrual cycle. They're on IVF medications for about 8 to 10 days. Then they give the trigger shot, and then egg retrieval. And typically egg retrieval, if you look at this calendar, is almost by day 14. So the question is for, when do they need their medications by? So a lot of times a patient is not calling on cycle day 1 and surprising the clinic like, hey, I'm ready to do my IVF cycle, although that does happen sometimes. They typically know ahead of time, and so we're actually ordering medications the cycle before. And so when they order the medications to the pharmacy, we get them. We try to do the insurance if it's insurance, self-pay price if it's self-pay, and get the medications to the patient by the time they start their period. And then that way, cycle day 3, they can start their medication. But sometimes they don't know that when the patient's cycle is going to start, and they actually do call on cycle day 1, and they need their meds right away. And this is when our timeline to get medications to patients becomes quite abbreviated or short, and we've got to work pretty fast. And again, always think about, the scenarios where what if the patient gets their period on the weekend, a Saturday or a Sunday? By the time Monday rolls around, they're calling and they actually need to get their medications right away. And so this is kind of some of the things that we get into about expediting getting the meds to the patient. Some patients only order a certain number of days, so they'll only ask for like 4 or 5 days of medications. And then again, the rest, partly because they can't pay for it all at once. That's where that can cause some problems because, again, they need to get their medications ordered right away. The dosages can change during this time frame, so the clinic can go up on the dose or down on the dose. If they go down on the dose, the patient typically has extra meds left over. But if they go up on the dose, the pharmacy has to recognize, they actually only ordered enough for 10 days at 150 units a day, but they doubled the dose to 300, so the patient will actually run out of meds faster. And so then we've got to notify, the patient's got to notify the pharmacy so we can get them more medications before they run out. The trigger shot, again, is about day 12, 10, 11, 12 of the cycle. And that can, again, get ordered on the front end, or some people wait till it gets closer so they can figure out which type of trigger shot to get. I think what we see most commonly is everybody orders all of the meds all at once to make their lives easy as clinics and nurses, as well as the patients' lives. But at the same time, just keep in mind it can come in a variety of ways. We'll go into IVF medications in a different video, so stay tuned for that.